Hey, welcome back. We're at part 2 with Jonathan. You may have taken a break between watching. We have just finished a 20-ounce Sprite.
Yep, we sure did.
Brady and I, we burped super loud, which I think you saw in the video. Jonathan,
go back to part 1.
still holding strong. And I think
I
you're
want to
gonna be
win.
fine. Yeah, I think you already have.
You
honestly.
won. I lost big time.
Jonathan,
Yeah.
I am hoping
Yeah.
that people are still with us who watched the first part of this.
Phenomenal story.
Because it's an incredible story. But I want to talk about what life has been like since you've been out of prison. And I've had the privilege of knowing you then, right? I mean, just a year afterwards. So you're in prison and you are about to be told that your sentence is shorter or whatever. How does that go down? Like, what's that conversation like?
Well, when I went in with 5 years, but the attorney said, I think we can get some things done. The judge had said some things from the bench that weren't accurate. And he said, I think I can get it reduced, but we'll have to see what happens.
Sure.
So I've been there a year and a half-ish, 2 years, I don't remember exactly. And one of the things we had was email. We could email, but it was expensive and you could only do it a little bit. But you got to email back and forth. So that was nice because I type better than I write. And I got an email from Beth. Just heard from the attorney, 3 years, not 5.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So you knew.
It's like, yes!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord.
Oh yeah, big time,
Yeah,
big
yeah,
time,
yeah,
big
yeah.
time. So I found out, and then of course at that point, then I went from thinking I have roughly 3.5 years left to going I got 6 months.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Now it's the lights at the end of the tunnel. This is cool.
Yeah.
We need to start getting some, my poop in a group because I need a job when I get out. I got to do a bunch of other things.
Yeah.
So kind of fast forwarded through all that. God was amazing.
Yeah.
I literally got released when I was supposed to. Made it on the way back. In fact, one of the cool stories is, so they put you on the Greyhound bus to get back. I had a big, I almost had that burp from that soda.
Oh, it's brewing.
There it goes.
Coming back, baby. Yeah.
They send you on they call it on the dog on the way back, and they put you on the Greyhound bus. And so we're like, okay, I know we got to go to the halfway house. We don't know how long we were gonna have to be there. They try to get you reacclimated society, and we were able to get the schedule. So Beth actually flew to Pittsburgh and met me at the Greyhound bus station in Pittsburgh.
Wow.
So we actually got to spend, it wasn't a long time, but we got to spend, basically about 16 hours together.
Wonderful,
just
yeah.
chilling out, being next to each other, which was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And, fortunately, it was probably not what they had in mind, but wasn't illegal because they can't stop her from buying a bus ticket on the same bus I was on.
Yeah.
So that worked out really cool. Got to the halfway house and, lots of stuff you have to go through. The part I remember, and I won't get through this, I'd been there for maybe a day. And Beth could bring me some stuff. I needed stuff like toiletries and toothpaste and toothbrush and all this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And so where we were at, there was like 2 doors. So it's like you walk in one glass door and then you've got 6 feet and there's another glass door. Typical in Michigan to keep all that cold air out.
Entryways, yeah.
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 So I'm by the second door, and they told me, your wife's here to bring you a bunch of stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm by the second door. They're 6 feet. She's by the second door, and she's got our son with us, who's 3 years old at the time.
Oh.
And I'll never forget this, because, of course, you're wondering the whole time, does he know me, does he not? I'd only seen him maybe a half dozen times at this point. He's 2.5, almost 3. And he looks through that door, and he sees me, and he starts jumping up and down, going, Daddy, 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 Daddy.
Yeah.
And man, one of those most impactful moments. Yeah. Not only to see that as a dad, but the incredible gratitude I had for my wife. That she made sure that my 2.5-year-old, who I'd just met a couple of times, knew who I was.
Wow.
Yeah.
It just, man, they said it tears me up. And I don't want to discount, Travis, my older son. I mean, he was obviously, we kept in touch the whole time.
Yep.
But that moment to realize that my wife went above and beyond, and not just made sure that, but that, Xander, he knew who I was when he saw me through the glass. It was as only a 2.5-year-old can do.
Right.
Get excited. It was just, man, that was so cool.
Amazing.
That's incredible.
Gosh, Jonathan.
So good.
It's profound. You have just been in prison for 3 years. You get out and you're going through the halfway house stuff. Like what's the next few years like for you?
Fast forward, I got a job, reached out to a bunch of connections that I had and said, hey, you knew me, you knew I screwed up, I got in trouble. I need a job. and I'll work for you for 90 days for minimum wage. Do anything you want. If I add value, then we can talk in 90 days and we can renegotiate. And I had a job when I walked into the halfway house. It was great. It's kind of funny because I got in on a Thursday. I was supposed to start on Monday. You have to go through a bunch of processing. And I was a little bit pushy with the halfway house about the fact that I needed to go through my processing on Friday because I had a job on Monday. And they thought I was full of it. They thought I was lying. And they actually called the executive director in because he was apparently the only one that could do it on a Friday. And I remember I sat down at his desk, sitting across the table, and he goes, "So you have a job on Monday?" Now, mind you, I've never talked to the person who's hiring me.
Yeah.
I have a letter from him and everything else, but I've never actually spoken to this man. And I go, "Yeah, I started Monday at 8 a.m. Here's my letter." He goes, "We'll see." He picks up the phone and he dials him.
Wow.
Now, it's not a big company, so there's like no receptionist or anything else.
Yeah.
It's a small company.
Sure.
And I'm like, "Oh, good Lord,
Please
please
answer
make
the
him
phone."
answer the phone."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he does.
Wow.
And he goes, "Yep, he's supposed to be here at 8 o'clock in the morning. Is he going to be here?" And the guy's like, "Yep, he'll be there." And he hangs up the phone and he goes, "I've never seen this happen in my entire life."
Wow.
Dude, what a, yeah.
So, but that was a total God thing. I mean, the way it all came together. I left, went to work for them, was selling websites, which is something I'd been doing before I went in. Worked for him for a couple of years, then decided that maybe not even a couple of years, that Sprite's coming back.
The gift
Yeah,
that
it
keeps
is.
on
It
giving,
is.
isn't it?
Whole
Giving,
year.
exactly, yeah. That
Part
gas,
one
yeah.
becomes part
It
two.
does. So I worked for him for a little bit, and then he ended up running into some tax issues. I was on probation at the time, so I reached out to my probation officer because when I met with her the first time, she goes, "Jonathan, this is going to be really easy for you. You have to keep a job, you have to keep your nose clean, you have to take care of your family. You do those three things, and this will be, you won't even know we exist." I'm
Yeah.
like, "Sweet, I'll do those things. I don't want to know you exist."
Right.
So I was on probation for 3 years. It was probably one of the easiest things I've ever done in my life because I did those three things, and
Right.
I just had to tell him what I did. When I went to her and I'm like, "Hey, I found out he's got tax problems. He's not been paying his payroll taxes. I kind of went through something like this. I really don't want to be associated with anything like this again."
I learned my lesson, okay?
I said, "What do you recommend?" And I told her, I said, "What I would like to do is I would like to start my own company. I'll continue to work for him, but I'll work for him as a contractor, and therefore I'm responsible for my taxes. And if he has problems," because he had shared with me that he just got the letter from the IRS and you owe us all this money because you had, and I'm like, I had nothing to do with it, but still too close for comfort.
Yeah.
And for some miraculous reason, again, I give God all the credit, she said, "Yeah, you can do that." Well, that was unheard of to let somebody that had been out less than a year go out and be self-employed and do all that type of stuff,
Yeah.
at least from what I've been told. But
Yeah.